Hey guys, welcome back to the Sycamore BMW YouTube channel. I'm Harry and today I'm finally bringing you one of the most anticipated BMW M models in the M division family. Of course, that is no other than the brand new BMW M2. This stunning example I have here is our Sycamore Peterborough demonstrator, finished in that flagship Zandvoort blue colour. I really cannot wait to take you for a full look around this car finally and even hit the road and take it for a drive so you can see just how well BMW have nailed this final M2. So without further ado, sit back, relax and enjoy as always. Let's take a look. I'm sure you can all agree it would be wrong of me to begin this video without a little bit of history on the BMW M2. So the M2 first joined the BMW M division back in 2017 and it came to us in the form of the F87. And the F87 picked up a lot of the design aspects and the proportions from the previous BMW 1M, a very iconic model in the BMW M history and one I know a lot of you avid M fans will know lots about and love. Then fast forward a little bit later down the line, we then have the M2 Competition, which was a revamped version of the F87. Of course, to get that competition label, it had to also see a step up in performance as well. Therefore, BMW decided to let it share the engine from the M3 and M4 at the time, which were also being introduced with competition packages. It was lightened up, redialed in, and it had even sharper, more aggressive angles and edges to the design and revamped driving dynamics. Now fast forward to today, 2023, we have the final internal combustion BMW M2, the G87, and BMW have well and truly nailed this last M2. Finished in this beautiful and flagship launch colour named Zandvoort Blue, our demonstrator model looks absolutely gorgeous. And when this turned up on the transporter, it was our first time seeing Zandvoort Blue and we all said, oh my goodness, how beautiful is the colour. The sun was shining, which really made the colour pop, and it looks 10 times better in person than it does on photos. Unfortunately, we haven't got a lot of sun shining today. However, you can just still see how much this colour pops and really makes the design of this vehicle stand out. And obviously being a G87, it picks up a lot of the design aspects from the current G Series, 2 Series, things like headlights and shaping, but it has that true extra MDNA piped into it to make it a completely different animal. So now I'll take you around the car, we can have a look at just what changes they've made to this vehicle, and we'll also hit the roads later on in the video and take it for a drive. It looks as if we've finally got a little bit of temporary sun shining on the Zandvoort Blue, making it look gorgeous as ever. However, as I just mentioned, we have the S58 engine from the current G80 and 82 BMW M3 and M4 shared here in the new BMW M2. This engine is tuned to 460 brake horsepower, outputting 550 Newton meters of torque. And all of that power is fed to entirely the rear wheels via either a new 8-speed automatic transmission or, for those who really want to engage with the car, a 6-speed manual transmission. And that propels you from 0 to 62 miles an hour in just 4.1 seconds. So despite weighing in at 1,700 kilos, noticeably heavier than its predecessor, that extra power and extra grunt in that engine really brings this M2 to life and makes it the fastest M2 to date. So beginning at the front, we've got a load of new styling here on the new M2. Of course, this nice power bulge in the centre of the bonnet, a nice crease here in the centre of this new frameless kidney grille, which looks really nice on the front of this M2. We've got new headlights as well, with a nice black accenting inside there to make them look nice and mean and aggressive, and a swooping DRL down the bottom there, which gives this M2 a fantastic forward profile, looks super aggressive in rear view mirrors as well. And if we move down the front, we've got a bit of extension in the gloss black accenting down the bottom there, as well as on the grille, to increase that aggressive styling and look. But there's not too many additional bits of trim on here, keeping this car nice and sleek, but still a very aggressive looking. As I mentioned, things like the power bulge in the middle of the bonnet do a terrific job of that. Now let's move around to the side of the car and have a look at the way that the side profile has developed on the new M2. Now moving around to the side of the M2, we've got a lot of new design in here as well. So starting off, we do have, of course, staggered alloys. These are bi-colour alloys, so they really set off nicely against the Zandvoort Blue. And we've got 19-inch alloys on the front and 20-inch alloys on the rear. The car here is currently sitting on Pirelli P0s, a great performance tyre option for the BMW M2. And of course, M-styled mirrors, this nice aerodynamic flick in the centre here, reducing wind noise off those mirrors, but also making them look really nicely styled. It's a really simple addition as well. We've got bigger bulging side skirts on the side here to really redefine those lines on the M2 and make it sit wider into the road and look more aggressively stanced. And along with that, these nice big rear arches as well, which are considerably wider than those seen on a standard 2 Series. They sit the car wider into the road, obviously help you with that cornering, that handling and putting the power down. Does a tremendous job of that being a smaller M vehicle as well. And standard on the new BMW M2, we get a carbon fibre roof, which not only looks beautiful against the Zandvoort blue and the gloss black accenting, but obviously saves a lot of weight as well. There's also some really nice carbon options available for the interior, which I'll talk about when we take it out on the road. So as I mentioned, all of that power is fed to the rear wheels, which makes for an incredibly exciting car, but it can also do a fantastic job at putting down its power. And with that adjustable M traction control, you gain full control as the driver over just how that power is delivered from the engine, through the wheels and to the road. And finally, we now move around to the rear of this new BMW M2. And I would just like to point out there is no competition badge on here, as this is a BMW M2. There is no longer a competition M2 model. But I'm sure you can all agree, looking at the rear end of this car, doesn't it look beautiful, yet so sporty and aggressive at the same time? We've got completely revamped styling at the back here. Those wide arches, as I just mentioned on the side profile, you can even more so see the definition of those from the rear. Sits this car really nicely into the road and gives it a fantastic, aggressive, sporty stance. On the top here, we've got this nice, subtle, colour-coded lip spoiler. However, you can also get an M Performance kit available from BMW for this M2, and it gives you a plethora of different add-ons. Side carbon fibre accents, front aero, you get a nice carbon fibre, sportier and larger wing on the back here, and you also convert all of the gloss black down here into carbon fibre as well. On the subject of that, obviously a nice gloss black aggressive rear diffuser here, housing quad tailpipes, nice big exhausts as well. They're almost as big as my hand. And you can also get an M Performance exhaust for around £3,500 extra on this vehicle, and that's a butterfly exhaust as well, so it sort of has a V formation in the centre. Not only does it enhance the looks of the car, but it also boosts the sound and the grumble from that 3-litre 6-cylinder engine. Rear tail lights have been resculpted just like the front as well. They share that nice swooping styling, and with the side light on, or the daytime running light, you get this really nice shape come through in the centre here. As I mentioned, silver badging on the back here to tie in with the roundel and the BMW M logo. We do have front and rear parking sensors on this vehicle, of course, and that lovely swooping down style to fit the coupe formation seen throughout the M2's life. It's now time to jump onto the interior of the vehicle. We'll have a look at some of the different things in there, and then we'll hit the road and take it for a drive, as I know you all can't wait to see just how well this car performs and drives out on the road. You now join me here on the all-new revamped interior of this new G87 BMW M2, and what a place it is to be. A completely redesigned cockpit, completely different to its predecessors. So to start off with, the thing that stands out the most, operating system 8. This car comes with it as standard. We've got the 14.9-inch entertainment display in the center here with all of the information on, and in front of me a 12.3-inch driver focus display with all the important driving information and M styling on, and coupled with that heads-up display in this model as well, all M designed. If we take a quick scroll through that menu, you can see lots of the standard things on there like telephone, personal assistant, which can be activated further with a BMW ID, and we've also got the engine temperature, tyre pressure and tyre temperature in there as well. And at the bottom, our climate menu, meaning that we can minimise the number of buttons down here and increase vent size to keep that nice and sleek with the dashboard as well. This interior very much looks like that, the standard G Series, 2 Series, but of course with all of those added extra M touches. One of those things which really stands out, of course, the sporty carbon fibre, which is seen throughout the dashboard, all down here on the centre console and all over the steering wheel as well, including these lovely big 3D printed real carbon fibre paddle shifters, which just make the steering wheel connect you slightly more to that gearbox and feel even more engaging. Seats wise in here, we don't have the carbon bucket seats, although I'm pleased to say they are available on the M2. However, these leather bucket style seats are really comfortable to sit in, fully electronically adjustable with 2 memory settings on the driver's seat, of course, as well. And they hug you in really tightly using those electric side bolsters, fully electronic lumbar support. We've got an electronic headrest on here as well, holding that M2 logo, which lights up when you unlock the car, really adds some nice subtle interior presence when unlocking it at night, coupled with that welcome lighting as well. But we've got the M mode and M setup buttons down here, the exhaust button, a nice red start stop button, and a completely different M shifter. Nice leather top on here with the M logo punched into that leather, and some nice subtle but nice M stitching around the side there as well, which matches in with the steering wheel and just gives it that extra essence of BMW M. And to couple perfectly with the operating system 8, you do get the Harman Kardon sound system in the M2, featuring 14 speakers, Logic 7 surround sound abilities, really bringing your music to life on those long European road trips, something that the M2 is perfectly suited for. But I know what you all want to see. How does this car drive? So without further ado, it's time to hit the road, take the M2 for a brief drive and see just how phenomenally it performs out there in the open roads. So we begin our drive out here in the new G87 BMW M2 on a lovely rural back road with lots of twists and turns, which really allow us to, if you pardon the pun, get to grips with the handling. And it is absolutely fantastic, as you'd expect from this car being a full M Division family member. So as I mentioned earlier on in the video, the rear end on this car is significantly wider than that on the standard 2 Series and still wider than the predecessor as well. Coupled with those really nice wide rear tyres as well, we've got plenty of surface area down there, really good stance, and that results in fantastic handling and power delivery at the rear, especially important considering this is a rear-wheel drive vehicle only. Now, obviously we've got 460 brake horsepower, 550 newton meters of torque. That's a hell of a lot of power to put through the rear wheels. But thanks to the intelligent M traction control system, it does a fantastic job at managing that power. So of course we've got the M mode button down here, and I've got 2 M presets in the vehicle as well via the buttons on the steering wheel, M1 and M2. M1, if I click that, car sharpens up a little bit. We're still in fully automatic mode with the shifts, but now if we then hit M2, it puts us into the hardest setting possible. You can probably see by the camera shake it's stiffened up a little bit more. Engine and damping are now both in Sport Plus, and obviously steering and braking still in Sport, as there is no Sport Plus option for those. We're in manual, so we can use the paddle shifters to shift down gears manually and shift up gears manually as well. And you can hear those shifts are really snappy as well. So the new M2 has a new 8-speed boxing, moving away from the 7-speed dual clutch transmission seen in its predecessor. This transmission is equally as smooth but even faster and snappier with the shifting. And through the customizable M modes, you can change how this gearbox behaves. So we've got S1, 2 and 3 and D1, 2 and 3. At the moment it's in its fastest setting, and as you can hear, those shifts are really fast and very responsive, which allows us then to pick up the power more, and we get a really nice smooth shifting sound. And it is a really smooth shift in here as well, as you can see. It's not jerky. When you press on with the power a little bit more, you get a bit more of a kick in the back, which really adds to the sporty sort of powerful emotion of the car. But with just the settings as they are out the box, the car is still fantastic fun to drive, yet perfectly usable on a daily basis. In terms of sound, obviously you can get that M Performance exhaust if you really want to enhance that exhaust note more. However, this vehicle is still equipped with standard exhaust, and as you can hear, it sounds really, really nice. Again, as we accelerate, we can hear those snappy shifts, and that exhaust note really comes to life. And again, that's another thing which adds to the driving feel of the M2. now that we're driving through town, it's a good opportunity to talk about the daily usability of the M2. So it seats 4 people comfortably, 2 in the rear, 2 in the front. The front seats are of course electronically adjustable, rear are fixed, however you can fold each individual part of the rear seats. So both the passenger holding rear seats fold down and that centre armrest piece also folds down individually as well to extend that boot room should you wish to use the M2 for more practical purposes, which it is still perfectly capable of doing. Boot room is plenty generous enough, you could fit a couple of suitcases in there, so you aren't limited to using this car for going on things like holidays in the summer, which again allows you to take it overseas, hit some really fun driving modes and really unlock and unleash the full potential of the vehicle. However, as you can also hear, the car is perfectly dignified around town. It's not too aggressive, it's nice and smooth, and obviously with the shift speed dialed right down, it shifts through those gears smoothly and at earlier rev points, which again goes back to what I was saying about with the different shift points on the vehicle. The 12.3-inch driver display in front of me is a fantastic addition with the operating system A. So not only is the operating system up here easier to use, but it's also here easy to use as well. I have got head-up display accompanying that for me. So in my head-up display, I've got a nice blue bar displaying the current speed limit and my speed. And if I've got a cruise control or a speed limiter set in there, it also tells me the setting of that as well. However, as for the display down the centre here, at the moment I've got it set to a map mode. However, a quick click of the 3-dot button here on the steering wheel allows us to adjust the content that's on there. So we can get things like current fuel consumption, average fuel consumption and speed. You can have your sat-nav details in there, your radio information. I prefer to have it set to the map as I think it gives you a really good readout of the road ahead, helps you read ahead when planning carefully and enjoying this car's open up performance. However, not only is this a great addition from a functionality point of view, but visually it looks much nicer as well. It's understandable that some people may prefer analog dial clusters, but the digital ties in really nicely with the digital display in the centre here. And if I click the M button down the centre, it changes our option from road to sport, and that turns off driver assistant aids like steering intervention and pedestrian alert. It gives us a rev counter with red line alert up in our head-up display. It gives us shift lights on the dashboard and a nice bar rev counter with our gear displayed in the centre and our current speed. And again, if I flick the car back into that M2 mode to put it into the manual, we get a better readout, which couples really nicely with the M mode on there as well. The exhaust note on this car though, however, does really add to the driving experience. It really livens up the car, and especially in the sport mode, it sounds fantastic with those quick shifts coupled in. In terms of space here on the interior of the BMW M2, it does feel slightly bigger than its predecessor, but not really by that much. So it still very much feels like you have that small package packed with the M Performance and M Thrill, which I think really is what the M2 is about. And it's nice to see that BMW have kept it that way and not taken away any of the M2's original bones and personality. When driving through town, this Zandvoort blue colour as well really turns heads. It's a beautiful colour and it really shows off the crafting and the sculpting that's gone into the M2 styling as well. So how does the new M2 compare up to the previous M2? Well, the new M2 definitely feels like a slightly larger car, but it definitely feels a lot more powerful. It does feel a little bit rougher as well in terms of how much road feel is translated through to you, which is really nice to see, as obviously the whole point of an M car is to be very engaging and very exciting to drive and also translate that nice sporty feel. And in terms of handling as well, I do think there's been an improvement on handling to a noticeable level. coupled of course with that new damping, stiffer, and the new transmission, which is snappier, delivering the power in a more aggressive fashion, it definitely makes the car feel quicker, which it is, and it couples together perfectly with the handling. It's nice to see that there's been an improvement in handling, but I think the choice to keep it all rear-wheel drive is a fantastic choice. And another thing which is nice to see with that as well is the ability to control how strong that traction intervention is. Again, making it very much a car which does as you wish rather than you doing as the car would please. And it very much feels like when you get in the M2, you're here to drive the M2 as opposed to just simply attend the steering wheel. And of course, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, the new M2 starts on the road for around £65,000, which is a lot of M car for its price point, as it still embodies all of the features that you'd find in an M3 and an M4, still as much fun, if anything arguably slightly more fun in the handling department due to the car being a smaller, lighter package. As I mentioned, it gives that pocket rocket style feeling like the previous M2, and the M2 definitely has grown as a vehicle, not just physically in size, but it has grown in performance and capability since the 2017 F87 was first released. So how does the new M2 weigh up compared to its larger brothers, the M3 and the M4? Well, it definitely does feel like a smaller vehicle, and you do feel slightly closer to the road. However, it is equally as comfortable and definitely equally as fun to drive. And as I said earlier on, in the handling department, perhaps has that slight edge on the fun simply due to it being a lighter, smaller car, and it gives that more nimble and agile impression. When the new M2 arrived with us at Sycamore, Peterborough as well, I was super excited to get in and drive it and see what all of that DNA from an M3 and M4 feels like in a smaller package. And I can absolutely assure you, it feels more than fantastic. And personally, I think that the M2 is perfect if you want that slightly smaller package and that coupe styling. You're not bothered about having 5 doors, but you would like it a little bit smaller than the M4. So that rounds off our look and drive of the new BMW M2. The G87, what a phenomenal addition to the G series lineup amongst the current BMW M division. It's been an absolute pleasure showing you around this vehicle today. It's definitely one of our Sycamore favourites currently, and in this beautiful Zandvoort blue, one of my favourite features about this car, as it is an exclusive M2 colour, really turns heads in the sun, and it really flaunts that curvature and that styling of the new M2 as well, giving it so much road presence and so much extra aggression into its physical looks as well. And what's better is if you want to experience this colour with your own eyes and feel all of that thrill and M performance embodied into this smaller package, you can do so at Sycamore Peterborough by following the link in the description to book your appointment with our friendly sales team, who'll be more than happy to arrange a test drive for you on our demonstrator M2. And if you're enjoying these look around and drive videos, we've got some more on the way for you, which we're really excited to share with you. So make sure, if you haven't already done so, you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you can be one of the first to see those videos. Don't miss out. And make sure you share this to 3 friends so they can see this beautiful M2 as well, and give the video a thumbs up and comment below what you like about the M2 the most. It's been a pleasure showing you around this vehicle. We're really excited to bring more future M2 content to you as well, so keep a lookout on our socials for that. All of our social links are in the description, so if you're not following those, make sure you do so to see more M2 content. I'm Harry from Sycamore Peterborough. Take care, have a fantastic week. We look forward to welcoming you soon.